Hello beautiful people of TOPWAR, welcome to a very interesting episode in which I'm gonna go extremely deep in analyzing this new half heavy trooper, half decoration kind of toy. But not just that, we're also gonna go pretty deep on this new heavy trooper chip introduced, because you probably guessed it, with the introduction of this toy, the rank 1 priority in TOPWAR right now is actually this guy. And also the new chipset, and yes, you heard me right, it's actually in front of the gear and the runes. For a simple reason, because the gear and the runes actually only buff one hero, but you may have more heroes, you may have more marches, and this bad boy over here actually gonna buff everything. So do yourself a favor and watch this episode till the end, and if you have questions, you know where the comments are. So let's start with this new heavy trooper seen right here, and it's not unlocked right now. And if you just clicking this button, it tells you, well, you have to have the heavy trooper at level 1. And yeah, we see here the modules tab, by the way, and we're gonna come back to this, especially when we're gonna talk about the priority order of the chips, because trust me, you're gonna do a lot of overclocking. So the modules you can get also from this event right here. And if you are a pure free-to-play player, your only chance here is actually to be in a solid group with a lot of spenders, because every time this guy here in the middle gets defeated, well, you're gonna have the angels here on the map, and you can hit them just one time, and you see what goodies you can get. And obviously, if you click on this button, you actually also see the probabilities. So yeah, it's a solid 8% to get 20 of these tokens, treasure tokens, which yeah, together with the heavy trooper tokens, will gonna be up now by far the most important items you have on your account. Meaning, in other words, if you are uncertain about the decision, please ask first. But I will also gonna explain you in this episode how should the priorities look like. So let's go back to this mothership treasure. And of course, for guys which can spend a little bit here and a little bit there, you can get indeed these heavy trooper vouchers, which by the way will stay and will never gonna be removed from your account, but also these treasure tokens. And this is a very important thing for the players. And when it comes down to managing this stuff here, and when it comes down to the management of the heavy trooper vouchers, well, please pay attention always to reach the milestone, which is, in this case, the first one is 10, and maybe you're gonna stop there, or 30, but don't pass it. Keep the rest of the vouchers for the next time this episode will gonna appear. Now in here, also we can see the probabilities when you're playing this event, and here we see a 0.66 chance actually to get this box. And here you have to pay attention, because you can actually choose, and because we have this option to choose, this is mandatory to choose exactly this set over here, the new Scaleplate armor heavy trooper chest. If you have further questions regarding this, ask me in the comments. Let's jump to the store. And here we're gonna start with a side note, which is regarding the old heavy trooper, the Black Angel, which yeah, definitely got a massive discount. But at this point, beautiful people, it doesn't matter, because the vast majority of the players in TOPWAR definitely have at least one heavy trooper, or 1.5 heavy trooper, or 2, or maybe more. And even myself, I haven't focused on this Blade Angel heavy trooper. Why am I saying this? Because these are right now the most important and valuable items you have right now on your account. And here we see the 3 boxes, and if you click on this box, which is the cheapest one for 3,000 of these tokens, well, here you're gonna get the first 4 modules. From the second box, which actually costs twice as much, 6,000 of these tokens, you get the other 2 modules. And of course, from the last box, you are getting the last 3 modules, which will bring your heavy trooper basically to his maximum potential. So now, beautiful people, let's dive into the chips. Which sets to use and where is exactly the priority. And in order to understand this even better, consider the new heavy trooper / decoration type of toy to be the master chip. Because everything this guy has on will gonna apply on your entire account. Meaning, in other words, all other heavy troopers are kind of second in command. Let's take this random boy and have a look at the chips. Because there is indeed a big difference in the priority list when it comes down to which chips this Master Chief will actually gonna need. What's the priority? Because if you saw my previous guide regarding these topics, well, the priority is super simple. First the middle core, then the slots 1, 2, 3, and then the slots 4, 5, and 6. And of course, obviously, when you get a very good chip from a random chest, obviously save it. But when it comes down to the Master Chief, and let's imagine now for a second, this is actually the new Heavy Trooper, and this is the set, well, the priority will actually gonna change massively. Again, due to the fact that the new set will gonna massively increase this buff by 100% of the random stats, makes the new set to be absolutely mandatory. But I also have to mention that if this would be the new Heavy Trooper, yes, these chips, as you can see it right now, sure, it's gonna work. It's gonna give you a 15% from the core chip, just a 30% from slots 1, 3, 5, 30% from slots 2, 4, 6, and so on. But theoretically would work. So what is the priority of the chips when it comes down to the new Master Chief Heavy Trooper? So obviously, priority number 1 is definitely going to be the core. But now, depending on how fast you are getting those modules, the priority is slightly different. Why? Because we only have to go back to this tab and see once you have reached and unlocked this module right here, what you see is it would automatically grant you 15% from the random attributes of the core chip, the middle one. And once you are reaching the remote support, well, this is the moment in which you're going to get 30% of all the random attributes from slots 1, 3, 5. Therefore, I would say that right after the core chip, slot number 1 is actually priority. Slot number 5, if you are proceeding faster and unlocking more and more modules. And you will gonna understand this in a second. So once you are unlocking the next one, which is the Tactical Advance, obviously 30% of all the random attributes, 2, 4, and 6. And as I mentioned a second ago, I can use random chips if I want to at the beginning. I'm just gonna get only 30%, not gonna get this extra 100% which you're seeing here. Of course, now we are reaching the full diagnostic, which is absolutely useless, I'm not gonna lie, but this is a massive thing, yeah? Because it's gonna give you 15% of the entire random attributes from all the chips. And of course, I can use a random chip, but I will only gonna get 15%, while if I have 6 pieces of the new set, well, this 15% all of a sudden gets another 100% on top, which is gonna be absolutely massive. So in other words, if we go back to this blue boy and consider for a second this is the Master Chief, because I don't have it unlocked, how does the chip priority looks like? So I would say for sure, definitely the core chip and getting some very good random stats, and more to this in just a second, what are solid random stats. And right after that, depending how fast you're getting the modules, the first priority should be slot number 5. But if you're already getting the modules to unlock the tactical awareness, which you see here, slot 2, 4, and 6, well, you can already start to work not on slot number 2, you're gonna work on slot number 4. More to this in a second. Because here I also must add that since the new guy is the Master Chief and the set which you are equipping on him, later on, not now, far later on, it's gonna open up possibilities for you to actually go back to your normal heavy troopers, which are second in command, and actually work a couple of these chips, especially when it comes down to slot 1, 2, 3, because yes, we have to talk about the high fire rate of the heavy trooper. So let's go back to the blue boy, which I consider in this example to be the new heavy trooper. What I'm trying to tell you is that the slots 4, 5, and 6 actually are extremely important, even more important than slots 1, 2, 3. And the reason is absolutely simple. Because you are using heavy troopers when you deploy your units, and you know also how fast you're losing these heavy troopers, and then you have to wait a certain amount of time in order to be able to use them again. But these stats on slot 4, 5, and 6 are literally buffing your units. Therefore, they have a higher priority, and we're going to start with slots 1, 2, 3. And when we come back to slots 4, 5, and 6, the definition of having best stats will actually gonna change comparing to a normal heavy trooper. So basically, in other words, it doesn't matter on what heavy trooper you're working right now or on what set you're working right now, leave everything and start directly to focus everything you got into the new Master Chief heavy trooper / decoration kind of guy and his new set. So good. With slot number 1. So I'm gonna get a 5.94% on slot number 1, and now we are presuming this is the new heavy trooper, and these chips are also the new chipset. So you see here I have 3 out of 4 perfect stats. Now you're gonna see stats like this, the heavy trooper res and others I'm gonna show in a second, which are absolutely useless, and the pure reason of these stats existing in TOPWAR is just to motivate you to do some more overclocking, to get some more of these boxes and keep you kind of busy and spending. So this chip on the Master Chief gives me that. And of course, considering this chip to be the new chipset, obviously we are looking at 30% plus of course the 100%. So 130% of these stats will gonna apply to all my marches. Let's go to the chip number 2. And here what you're seeing is very interesting because theoretically speaking, this chip right now has 2 out of 4 stats because the random stats are the same for all the chips, no matter what the set is. So this one and the elementary res, it's absolutely useless, but I have a 2.08 high fire rate. Plus, of course, the 5.92. And since this is the Master Chief, depending on this explanation over here, I get a 130% value. And we must speak a second exclusively from the high fire rate perspective because things are changing in the near future. And it depends a lot on your opponent and how will they approach this. Now, obviously, at the beginning, everybody is focusing on the new Master Chief Heavy Trooper and its chips. Therefore, expect your opponent to have a far higher high fire rate because this value, in this case, plus this value, so 130% on that, will gonna apply, for example, on my tank setup. And this is the Heavy Trooper for a tank setup because I already have here a 4.56 high fire rate and also another 2.48. But this is not necessarily a thing which you have to panic because of the simple fact, if your opponent will hit you first from his heavy trooper because he has a higher high fire rate, it's not the end of the world because it's imperative for the opponent to get his heroes to proc from a heavy trooper, and if he's unlucky and doesn't get that, well, he has all the reasons to cry, and for you, this so-called disadvantage is absolutely super small. So let's go back to the Master Chief, which is in this case considered the blue boy. And that's basically kind of the slots 1, 2, 3. And for the time being, get a good one, but don't focus to push that much the high fire rate because you're gonna have to focus far more on the core chip and of course now to the slots 4, 5, 6, which are buffing all your units no matter if your heavy trooper is in healing or is actually active. So I said that for the Master Chief Heavy Trooper / decoration guy, these chips, good random stats actually are different. So we're gonna take this case in which this blue boy here is technically my heavy trooper using for the Navy. And looking at the slot number 4, what you're seeing here, 2 stats which are buffing my Navy, which is great, but you also see 2 stats which are buffing my Air Force, and you should not use the Encyclopedia units, meaning in other words, these 2 stats right here for this chip on a heavy trooper buffing the Navy are absolutely useless. But in this case, and this is the Master Chief, and since this is the chip on him, I will gonna benefit from everything. So all of a sudden, a chip with random stats like this, it's actually considered to be a very solid one. It's gonna buff 2 unit types. Presumably, of course, you have for both unit type a solid march. Let's move to the slot number 5 because it's actually the same story. So in this case, I will consider these random stats to be actually super satisfying for the time being, as it's going to apply on all my marches. And I have a march for tanks, for Navy, and for planes. And also this applies for slot number 6, in which we see again, Army, Navy, DF, all units. It's absolutely perfect. So this is the deeper dive on the new Heavy Trooper / decoration toy, which again I have to remind you has become the rank 1 highest priority for you in TOPWAR, even in front of the gear. If you have not understood everything mentioned in this video, you have option number 1 to watch this video one more time. Option number 2 is obviously jump into the comments and ask your questions, and I will also like to address the viewers, because if you are certain you can answer a question correctly, you're not actually only helping that player, you actually are helping me, and I would like to thank you for that, because I know exactly how it is. I'm also a very hasty person, and the longer I'm waiting for the correct answer, well, the higher the chances are I will actually gonna do a mistake. And option number 3, we have a beautiful Discord channel filled with a ton of very experienced players and team is champions like Reba, like T-Zap, a lot of them. Just jump in there, you're gonna find the link of our Discord in the video description and join that beautiful community. And that brings us now to, if you also want to support me, if you also want to motivate me to do more videos on TOPWAR, well, you don't have to donate anything. You don't need any money for that, beautiful people. All you have to do is use the subscribe button. It's for free. Obviously, watching the video till the end not just only gonna help you understand better and take better decisions, will actually gonna help me far more than you can imagine. And obviously share this channel with your friends if they are still playing TOPWAR. Thank you very much for watching, beautiful people, and I will gonna catch you in the next one. Ciao, ciao, ciao.